The trailer for The End of Oak Street dropped earlier. It's got Anne Hathaway, Ewan McGregor, who's clearly still funding a divorce settlement, and a genuinely incredible Spielbergian premise about a 1980s neighbourhood, of course it's a 1980s neighbourhood, dropped on the edge of a prehistoric cliff. But before we can even allow ourselves to even have a spike of interest, we need to deal with the fact that the architect of modern cinematic mediocrity has his fingerprints all over the crime scene.
Getting old sucks.
Wellness influencers will tell you that secret to waking up is a 4 a.m. ice bath. They're wrong. You don't need a cold plunge, you just need the visceral, skin-crawling reminder that J.J. Abrams is still alive, productive, and attaching his name to movies. The trailer for The End of Oak Street dropped, and straight off the bat, before we see a single frame of actual cinema, they flashed the Bad Robot title card, and then the hook, from producer J.J. Abrams. Are you supposed to clap? Are you supposed to be entertained? Are you supposed to be engaged? Is that the badge of honour Warner Brothers wants to go with? Look, when you hit 40-something, your tolerance for cinematic bullshit evaporates. You stop accepting forgettable, easy-to-digest slop dressed up as prestige. So let's take a minute to talk about Jeffrey Jacob. Not JJ, Jeffrey Jacob. Let's get that personal branding out of the gate so we know exactly who is responsible for the empty mystery box. Was Jeffrey Jacob the start of us collectively accepting mediocrity? This guy got the keys to the kingdom twice and drove both of them straight off a cliff. There are hyperfans out there right now circle jerking to the nostalgia of his Star Trek and his Star Wars abortions, but I haven't forgotten.
Happy anniversary.
Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan remains one of the worst, most insulting examples of nostalgia porn and shadow marketing in modern times. For years, the industry heralded Jeffrey Jacob as the new Spielberg. Put the coffee down. You think he's Spielberg? Where's his Schindler's List? Where is his Saving Private Ryan? Hell, where's his Jaws, his E.T. or his Jurassic Park? He's 59 years old now, Jeffrey Jacob. Do you know what Steven Spielberg was doing at 59? He was directing Munich. He was letting Eric Bana take out all his international espionage trauma on his wife in the bedroom. That's cinema. That's filmmaking with actual teeth. Jeffrey Jacob is a hack. He's a fraud. His greatest achievement was convincing an entire generation of moviegoers that he was it for a brief period until he ruined Star Wars.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
The fact he stepped up to bat for a generation on Star Wars and completely botched it, but can still proudly attach his name to things, is a remarkably bold choice. And then we have the star of this little suburban rodeo movie, Ewan McGregor. Look, normally when a guy hits a midlife crisis and the existential dread creeps in, he buys a Harley, maybe even a Corvette, a Ferrari perhaps, but he doesn't know how to drive it. Not Ewan, he went full Hollywood. He blew up his life, grabbed his Fargo co-star, and apparently looked at all his divorce and alimony bills and said, you know what, let's take the legacy of Sir Alec Guinness and drag it behind a Disney Plus content tractor. Sir Alec Guinness notoriously thought the original Star Wars script was fairy tale rubbish, but he showed up. He delivered a mythic, Oscar-nominated performance and negotiated a percentage of the gross because he knew the value of his own dignity. Ewan McGregor took a flat fee to get out-acted by a CGI camel and hide a 10-year-old Princess Leia under a trench coat like a Scooby-Doo villain. He took a legacy built on Shakespearean gravitar and turned it into a 6-hour post-divorce apology tour. And now we have this movie, The End of Oak Street. David Robert Mitchell's actually directing this, Jeffrey Jacob is producing. And the premise is a massive cinematic swing. We've got Ewan and Anne Hathaway in what looks like a heavy 80s aesthetic. Of course, it's always the 80s, right? They realise their entire neighbourhood, their whole street has just been physically moved. On paper, it's interesting. It's a fantastic premise. But it comes back to Jeffrey Jacob's mystery box. The mystery box isn't a profound narrative device, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's a magic trick performed by a guy who doesn't actually know how the trick ends. Look, Will David Robert Mitchell have the chops to overcome the bad robot curse, or are we going to sit in an IMAX theatre in August and wait for a brilliant third act resolution and instead get a wet fart of an ending masquerading as closure? The last 15 years of Jeffrey Jacobs' career is any indication. I'm keeping my expectations in the basement.
Would you like to know more?
Movies, popcorn.